Hey guys, it's Dr. Mona, and I really want to talk about a topic that all women and men experience, something none of us like, but something we all want to fix, and that's bloating. Okay, so we're talking about bloating in this video, and I'm going to cover three things. Three of the main culprits of bloating. We've got air. I know that sounds weird, but air is one of them. Sodium and poor digestion. So I want to go through these. You can kind of figure out what's been causing your bloating, see if these signs and symptoms match with you, and I'm going to give you little tips and tricks that you can try and experiment with, and then you can see maybe what's causing it. Because remember, whenever you're trying to treat a problem, you don't want to just put a band-aid on it. You want to figure out what's actually causing it so you can prevent it. Because wouldn't you rather prevent it from happening than just treat it every time it happens? I think that's a better solution. So air seems like a really weird culprit to bloating because obviously we need air to live, we have to breathe air, but there's certain ways you can eat, drink, even breathing exercises you can do that can stop you from holding too much air in your stomach. Obviously, we know that air fills up, like picture blowing up a balloon. You're putting air in and it blows up. That's kind of the same way we want to think about our stomach. So one little trick is gum. What's interesting about this, and ironic actually, is that a lot of people chew gum so that they won't eat because they feel like it'll occupy them, it stops them from overeating. But the process of chewing gum actually causes you to swallow so much air that it can actually cause bloating. So if you're chewing gum and you still feel like you look bloated or feel bloated, I would recommend trying like sucking on like a hard candy, preferably one that's sugar-free and healthy, maybe like snacking on something really healthy like some organic grapes, just something else to occupy you if that's what you're trying to do, but definitely avoid chewing gum. Another culprit to adding more air in your stomach is drinking through a straw. This is tricky because I like straws when you're trying to keep your teeth white, so it's kind of like which one do you choose? But if you feel like you're bloated, I would really go with, what the main issue is at hand. Try not to drink through straws too much, especially if you're drinking really fast. If it's something cold and you have to drink it through a straw, even just try slowing down and that can really help. Another culprit could be the way you're breathing. So if you ever notice in yoga when they tell you to breathe through your nose and out through your mouth, you're breathing through your nose and you want to get more oxygen to your brain. If you breathe through your mouth too much, it can actually cause you to hold extra air in your stomach, and that can also lead to bloating. And the last culprit to getting too much air in your stomach is the way you're chewing and eating your food. I'm sure you've grown up and your parents have told you to slow down, chew your food, digest your food. This actually has a lot of meaning to it. You know that digestion starts in your mouth. So as soon as you start chewing, you're actually beginning the process of breaking down food. But if you're like shoveling food in your mouth, you're also swallowing a lot of air. And I know this might sound a little weird, but this is actually true. So slow down. A really good habit that I like to incorporate is take a bite, put your fork down. That way you're not just like mindlessly eating and not thinking about it. These little things in general can stop you from holding too much air and hopefully stop some bloat from happening. So the next thing I want to talk about is sodium. So sodium is a big one, and this is different from air because now we're actually talking about water retention. I don't know if you remember back to your chemistry class in high school, the rules of osmosis, water follows salt. So if you eat something with high sodium, water's gonna follow it. And when you're holding onto water, that can lead to a lot of bloating and swelling. In fact, this might not just be in your stomach area. This could be in your feet, it could be in your face, which is why some people will eat like a bowl of ramen noodles and wake up with a really puffy face. A few tips on avoiding salt. So it's not just the salt that you put on your food. That's actually the last culprit because that you can control how much you're eating. It's really in the foods that you're eating out. So when you're ordering out, you don't know what they're putting on that food. You have no control over it. And really at a restaurant, their main job is to just make it taste good. So something to keep in mind with sauces, anything that's like really heavy on cream sauces tend to have a lot of salt. Another thing is frozen foods. So if you look on the back of any frozen meal, even if it has low calorie, even if it has low fat, most people aren't paying attention to the sodium. And the sodium in itself is what's gonna make you hold on to that water retention. And sodium in general is used as a preservative. So it's very, very likely that it's in almost every pre-frozen meal you're having and any kind of canned food. If you wonder why canned food can stay so good on the shelf for so long, it's because they're using salt to preserve it. So these little things might make you think you're eating healthy. Like let's say you go buy a can of vegetable soup and you're like, okay, I'm eating really low calorie vegetable soup. Well, it's so high in sodium that you're actually just holding onto that water. And don't forget, sodium isn't just about bloating. all that pressure in your bloodstream leads to high blood pressure. That's where high blood pressure comes from. So it's actually really a health risk too. So we're gonna avoid frozen foods, avoid processed foods, avoid canned foods, and avoid pickled foods. Now, if you want to pickle here and there, that's okay. But overall, getting too many foods that are like pickled and salted, that's when you're going to hold on to that water retention. So the last one we're going to talk about is digestion. And this is a really big topic in itself and probably requires numerous videos just to cover all the different things it could be. But for the purpose of this video, I want to give you guys some tips on if you're not digesting your food properly. I know I've personally experienced this. I've watched myself eat a little tiny thing of oatmeal with water and my stomach just go from being flat to bloating. And obviously that little amount of food shouldn't do that, but I just wasn't digesting it properly. So little things you can do to digest your food better. Number one, avoid water 20 minutes before and 1 hour after a meal. This is tough for a lot of people, and I know a lot of people have a hard time believing it or maybe don't want to believe it, but this is really true. Water is going to dilute the digestive enzymes that need to break down your food. Try to avoid it too close to a meal, or at least do the best you can with timing there. The other one is a little drink that you can make, kind of like a homemade tea that will help you digest your food, and you can sip this 20 minutes before a meal. So if you warm up some water, add some fennel, some coriander, and some ginger. If you can make it fresh, it's better. If not, you can get the whole dried herb. Add a little bit of this to warm water, sip it before your meal, and it'll kind of help you digest and break down your food even more. As a next step to that, you could really go the route of digestive enzymes, which can be really great. They can help you break down your food, give you that hydrochloric acid that you need to break down your food. I would recommend talking to a nutritionist or a doctor and getting a digestive enzyme that works for you, but this is something a lot of people do. It can work really well. It can really help break down that food if your body isn't digesting it properly. And the last one is one of my favorite tips, which is to eat fruit on its own. So I see so many people combining fruit in like pies and salads as dessert right after meals. And the reason I really stress this tip is because I feel like anyone who's doing that is trying to make the healthier decision by eating fruit because fruit's so good for you. But really truly combining it with other foods does not work well in your gut. Fruit is broken down so quickly that it can't digest well with other food. It ends up sitting there, ends up putrefying, ends up causing a lot of backup in your GI tract, and that can lead to bloating. And it actually lead to a lot of toxic buildup too, so it's more than just bloating. So really try to eat fruit on an empty stomach. I like to eat it in the morning because it's easy. I don't have to think about what else I'm eating, and I kind of just get my fruit serving in the morning. So try all these tips, try the air, try the sodium, and try the digestion. If none of these are working, then I would recommend seeing a nutritionist, really figuring out what's going on. I'm a big fan of doing diagnostic testing, blood tests, seeing what's going on, how your hormone levels are, how you're absorbing food. I think the more you know, the better. Knowledge is always power. If you guys want me to go more into digestion and do a video just on that, we can talk about probiotics, prebiotics, all that good stuff. Let me know in the comments and we can just dedicate a few videos to that specifically. Also, if you guys want to see a list of my favorite foods that I've seen help with bloating and my favorite foods that help fight a lot of cravings, so I'm talking like late night dessert cravings, pasta cravings, cereal cravings, you can go to the link in the description or go to gethotandhealthy.com, and I made a free video there for you guys where I just kind of teach you a lot of tips and tricks that can make you feel like you're indulging and eating whatever you want, but you're actually eating really healthy. If you guys like this video, let me know. Leave all your questions in the comments, and I'll see you next time.